Yeah, let us start.
Okay, I can start. Huh? Okay, welcome back. Actually, we are in the process of repairing our ship. Actually, we are discussing about the working principles of uh, a diesel engine. Okay. So let us continue with our repair work. Satish, next. So let us make a quick review as always. So we were discussing about heat engines. Our ship is in trouble, so we have to make a repair. So as a first step, we were discussing about the working principles of a diesel engine, a four-stroke diesel engine. So you know it's a cylinder piston assembly. There is a TDZ and BDZ, and the piston will be making movement between TDZ and BDZ. So that is called one stroke. And in a heat engine, what we are doing is we are collecting air into the cylinder, then we are compressing the air, then we are pouring fuel to that. So combustion will take place. So the piston will be pushed downwards. So as the last stroke, we will be kicking out the debris, exhaust debris to outside. So this is one cycle. So this cycle will be getting repeated again and again. So that is the main principle of a four-stroke diesel engine. So the main part of the engine is a cylinder piston assembly, and that time I told you that you are familiar with a cylinder piston assembly, and the most common cylinder piston assembly we are familiar with is a syringe. And then we discussed about the further components of this engine. So we have connecting rod which connects the piston to the crankshaft, and I had given the definition for these two shafts, what is crankshaft and what is a camshaft. So let me ask a small question to Rishikesh. What is crankshaft? Rishikesh. So unmute and tell me, what is crankshaft? What do crankshaft do? What do crankshaft do? Rishikesh?
I am not able to say.
So, okay. So uncle will be explain. Is there anyone could say what is a crankshaft? Okay. Crankshaft is
Sir,
a, okay.
sir, I guess, is it the connecting cylinder?
Sorry. By definition, crankshaft is a mechanical design which converts the to and fro motion into a rotary motion. Crankshaft converts to and fro motion to a rotary motion. Actually, the to and fro motion of the piston of the diesel engine is being converted into rotary motion through crankshaft. Then I gave a definition for camshaft, and a camshaft is one particular design of a mechanical system which converts, which generates patterns of motion from a rotary motion. So these two shafts you can see in a diesel engine. These two shafts we need them in a diesel engine. Then I told you, meanwhile, I told you about a very simple and elegant principle a superposition principle. Superposition principle. So superposition principle says that in a nutshell, it says that however big the problem may be, however big the problem may be, you can you can crack them into you can crack them into small problems, small constituent problems, and you can solve these constituent problems. Then so you get some solution, and by repeating this, you can solve the whole problem. So superposition principle in actual is a problem solving technique. So in actually in electrical engineering, in a system, so there will be a system. So you will be applying, let us say, 1,000 inputs, and you want to get the output. So as per the superposition principle, we call, in electrical terms, we call it as a superposition theorem. So in superposition theorem says that we can put each input at a time and collect the output. So 1,000 times we will be doing the process if there are 1,000 inputs, and we get 1,000 answers, and we add up these answers, we get the solution. When we apply all those 1,000 inputs at a time, we will get the response we found out by adding the 1,000 individual inputs. So these were what we discussed till now. Satish, next. So now we have a particular problem at our face. We have a particular problem. So we were discussing about a cylinder piston assembly. So when we look at the scooter at your home, or car, the truck, then up to ship's engine. All these engines need varying capacity of power. Their power ratings are different, vary. Scooter needs less power, and when we reach to ship, it requires that it must generate a great amount of power. So how can we produce more power in this way, more power in a diesel engine, Satish? So this is our problem. How to produce more power? Actually, Uncle have defined till date most of the components we have covered. So now our problem is how to produce more power. That is our problem. So a particular cylinder with a particular volume can accept a particular volume of air. Actually, the oxygen needed for the combustion of fuel we inject at a later time. So a cylinder can accept a particular maximum of air. So we can inject a matching fuel into the cylinder. So the cylinder will produce a particular maximum of power. So to a particular cylinder, we can inject power from 0 to a particular maximum, so that it will generate its maximum power, and there is no meaning in injecting more fuel into it to generate more and more power. That is not possible because the oxygen we are taking in is won't be not sufficient to oxidize the diesel we are injecting. So the extra fuel which are injecting, then our particular maximum will be unburned, and in the fourth stroke they will be kicked out. So our problem is how to produce the volumetric capacity of the cylinder. What all ways are there? Sadish, next. So uncle is giving a little bit of time for you. So what all are the possibilities for producing a more powerful engine or varying capacity engine? What is our possibility? Do you have any answer? Okay. Rishikesh is answering one possibility. Increase the volume of the cylinder. We can do that by increasing the volume of our cylinder. Volume of the cylinder is increased, so we can collect more air into that, so we can inject more fuel, so more power will be produced. More power will be produced. Okay, sir. Okay.
This benefit of those who have come today, should we just show that picture of that cylinder and this thing of previous? I have that presentation of previous one for a second.
So, okay, Satish. Okay.
Yeah.
So Rishikesh answered it correctly. It's
This is-
okay. Okay.
So that some 2-3 students are new today, for them just
Okay.
visualize it.
Okay. So this is the 4 strokes of our diesel engine. So in the very first stroke, we will be opening a valve in the cylinder head portion, and we are pushing down the piston. Actually, we are pushing down the piston, so air will be taken in. Let us say the blue colored circles are oxygen. Okay, it's oxygen. So uh, in a sense, oxygen is taken in. So this is called what we call as intake stroke. Very first stroke of a diesel engine. So after that, after completing the first stroke, we will close the intake valve. And we will compress the air taken in. Air taken in. So when the piston reaches to its maximum, the temperature of that air will be more than 450 degrees centigrade. So when we inject diesel through the fuel injector, it will automatically burn and push the piston downwards. Okay, push the piston down. So this is the very particular stroke of our diesel engine. This is what we call as power stroke. This is power stroke. So piston is at the bottom dead center now, and we have combustion debris. So these small dots are a combination of carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen and its components, sulfur and its components. So many components will be there, like such components will be there, which are all very dangerous things, and we will be actually kicking them out through the, after opening the exhaust valve, we will be pushed the piston upwards. So the all these combustion debris will be taken out. So this cylinder has got a particular volume. So its volumetric capacity is fixed. So the air which we could take in is a fixed thing. So the oxygen molecules which can contain in that for the combustion of the diesel is fixed. So we can in order to produce maximum power in this particular engine, there is a limit, there is a particular limit for the fuel we could inject. So if we inject more fuel, it will go unburnt and will be kicked outside in the fourth stroke exhaust stroke. So so that was a working of a diesel engine. So our problem right now is how to produce more power, how to produce more. And Rishikesh answered it correctly, by increasing the volume of the cylinder, volume of the cylinder. So it's one possibility. That is a possibility. Correct. That is a possibility. But when we actually think about it, for small engine, small power rated engine, the possibility Rishikesh shared with us is good. What Rishikesh said is good. But as the capacity of the engine increases, this particular solution will generate a very big problem. So we have to look for some other solutions as well. So in between, Anupama gave an answer. So I think her answer was, by filtering out the air, we can inject more oxygen into that. Okay. Air is purified to more and more oxygen, and we are injecting more oxygen into the cylinder, one particular cylinder, so that we can pour in more fuel, and that engine we can produce more power from a particular engine. That also is a correct thing, but that filtering process is not that much economically correct. So actually we are not practicing it. Conceptually that idea is correct, but we are not practicing it. So is there any other problem, any other solution for it? I am just looking for okay, I will give you one more clue for that. You have got a particular volumetric cylinder, and my question is how to increase its volumetric efficiency. So Anupama has what Anupama said is has the answer in it. If you think a little bit further, you can reach to the answer. How to okay, we have a cylinder with particular volume, and how to increase the volume of oxygen in it. How to increase the volume of oxygen so that we can pour more fuel into it and we can produce more power from that engine, rather than increasing the volume of the cylinder. I give you 30 more seconds. From Rishikesh, make more gap. I think that is not possible. I think Rishikesh was saying that between the TDC and BDC, travel of the piston has to be increased. So that is not a practical solution. So uncle will be saying the answer. The concept is called either
Anupama has given
Anupama. What was the answer?
make the air dense.
Okay. Correct. That was the answer. That was the answer. That was one answer. Actually, if you can increase the volumetric efficiency of a cylinder with a particular volume by making the air more dense, or else air is compressible. You know, water liquids are not compressible, but air is compressible. So we can do one thing. You collect the air using a compressor, make it compressed so that its volume is decreased. Give that to your cylinder. So you can pour in more air to that than our earlier case. So we can inject more fuel and we can produce more power from your engine. That is actually a practical solution. So there are two methods for that. One is supercharging and the other one is called turbocharging. Supercharging and turbocharging. So the concept is this. So we are pre-compressing the input air and we are giving that into the cylinder for the first stroke. So it will be further compressed and our 4 strokes will be done. So such an engine will produce more power. So this concept is called turbocharging. So let us forget about that thing. Satish, next. So very first answer was given by Rishikesh. We can do that by using cylinder with varying volumetric capacity. By increasing the volume of cylinder, you can produce more and more power. And another choice is the last one, turbocharging. That was this answer also was given from you, came from your side. Okay, both of them were correct. So, but actually a practical diesel engine will use a multi-cylinder arrangement for producing more power. A multi-cylinder arrangement. When you look at the specifications of a car or a bike, truck, or like that, it will be saying that it is a 4-cylinder engine. There are 4 cylinders, or some cars will be saying that it is a 6-cylinder engine. When you come to truck, okay, it's 8-cylinder, it's 10-cylinder. When we come to the arena of ship, they will be saying that it is 18-cylinder, it is 20 or 24-cylinder, like that. And why we are going for multi-cylinder arrangement? That is the practical answer for a diesel engine or a diesel engine, and why we are going for multi-cylinder arrangement. Has anybody has got any answer for that? Why we are going for multi-cylinder arrangement? Okay, uncle will be saying that. Uncle will be saying that. from Rishin Surya to everyone for more power. Okay, we get more power from that, and there is a more correct answer for that. Okay, we will get more power, that is sure, certain, but there is more correct answer for that. Why we are going for multi-cylinder engine?
So more power with less space.
uh, that also is not correct, not perfectly correct. Why we are going for multi-cylindered arrangement? So Uncle will explain that. Uncle will explain that. Actually, in take the case of a single cylinder. So in a cycle, it will be making 4 strokes. In a 4-stroke diesel engine, it will be making 4 strokes, and only the third stroke will be giving power to us. All 3 other strokes are absorbing. Actually, engine will absorb power. Only the third stroke will give you power. So think about a single cylinder engine. Okay, an engine with a single cylinder. So it is generating some power. Okay, in the third stroke, it will generate some power, and that power will be rotating our crankshaft, rotating our crankshaft. So in a cycle of our in a cycle of our operation, in completing the 4 strokes of the diesel engine, how many revolutions will the crankshaft make? We discussed that in the last class. It will be making actually, the crankshaft will be making it will make 2 revolutions, actually 2 revolutions. 4 strokes means, okay, Rishikesh has said it correct, 2 revolutions, and Uncle has given in degrees. We made a calculation and we found out that it is equivalent to 720 degrees or 360 into 2, 720 degrees. It is equivalent to 720 degrees. So 2 revolutions. So a single cylindered engine has to rotate your crankshaft 2 times with the power of the third stroke. So your crankshaft won't be rotating in a, it won't make a uniform rotation, let us say. Yeah, it won't make a uniform rotation. In the time of third stroke or power stroke, your crankshaft will get accelerated, and slowly it will get decelerating further. So in a sense, we can say that your crankshaft will oscillate, in a sense, oscillate. It's a pulsating movement. It's a pulsating movement. It is not a smooth movement. It is not a uniform movement. It is a pulsating movement. So how can we overcome this great deficiency of engine? How can we overcome this deficiency? And we are actually going for a multi-cylindered design because of Rishikesh is asking me a question known as pulsating motion. You know what is meant by a pulse? A pulse is something, some physical quantity, anything, let it be anything, increases to a maximum value and then decreases to, let us say, its minimum value, let us say 0 or like that. Increases to maximum, then 0, then maximum, then 0. Rishikesh, did you get that answer? Rishin is asking me a question. So Rishikesh is okay with that answer. So what is pulsating motion? You are familiar with what is pulsating motion. Uncle will give an example later on. Actually, Rishin is asking me what is 720 degrees. So uncle will explain it again. So in a diesel engine, in the cylinder, actually in the very first class, uncle had defined 2 points. One is BDC and the other one is TDC. The bottom dead center and top dead center, 2 points which we can mark in the cylinder, and the piston will be making movements between these 2 points. Any movement between these 2 points is called a stroke. You know what is a stroke, Rishi? And at that time, okay. And at that time, actually, I think you yourself told me that when uncle was explaining stroke, we discussed about tennis. And I think you are a tennis player. Am I correct? Am I correct, Regine? Oh, okay. Oh, then someone else from Bangalore, I think, attended that class, and we discussed about tennis, because in tennis every stroke can be power stroke, but in a diesel engine only third stroke is power stroke. Okay. You can go through the videos. Okay. Then you will get a clear idea about that. So anyway, uncle will be explaining it here. So the piston is making to and fro motion between TDC and BDC, and any one such motion is called a stroke. Stroke is basically movement. So in a 4-stroke diesel engine, we need 4 strokes to complete 1 cycle of operation. Actually, we described it earlier. Okay, let us explain it once again. So in its normal position, in its starting point, the piston will be at its top dead center. Piston will be at its top dead center. And we will open up the intake valve. We will open a valve in the piston head. Let us say this portion is piston head. We will open up a valve in here and we will push the piston downwards. Okay, actually the first figure is in that process. Piston has come down almost near to its bottom dead center. So automatically air will get sucked into the cylinder. Okay, air with oxygen molecules will be get sucked into the cylinder. Okay, first stroke is piston is now at its bottom dead center. So 1 stroke is completed. Now what we do is the valves are closed in the cylinder head or in the top portion of the cylinder. there is a portion, we call it cylinder head. So the valves in that portions are closed. So it is a closed compartment, and we are compressing the collected air. Okay, we are compressing the collected air, and there is a universal principle that if we inject diesel to an air mixture which of which the temperature is more than 450, near to 500 degrees centigrade, it will automatically burn. So our compressed air has a temperature greater than 450 degrees centigrade. When we are completing the second stroke or compression stroke, the air will be compressed to such a volume that its temperature right now is more than 450 degrees centigrade, or of the order of 500 degrees centigrade. So if we inject fuel, diesel, to that air, compressed air, it will automatically burn. So the compressed air, we are injecting diesel, it is burning. So in this third stroke, the piston will be pushed down by the expanding gases or the release of energy in the combustion of this fuel and air mixture. So the piston will be automatically, or piston will be pushed down by the engine. So actually in this third stroke, this engine is giving power to power output, giving power to us. Okay, so we call this stroke as power stroke. So piston is again at the bottom dead center. Okay, right now what is left with inside the cylinder? It is combustion debris, smoke, which is a mixture of carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, oxides of sulfur, oxides of nitrogen, and all those things. So we have to kick them outside. So there is another valve known as exhaust valve. So we will open up that valve right now, and we will push the cylinder again to its top dead center. So the smoke and all those things will be pushed outside. So this is the basic operation of a 4-stroke diesel engine. When you count, there are 4 strokes to complete this cycle of operation. So Rishin, are you happy with this explanation? Rishin? Okay. Rishin is okay with this explanation. Then you go to the videos of later sessions, so you will get a better idea. So we were discussing about why we are going for multi-cylindered arrangement. So a single cylinder is giving us a pulsating motion. So I will give an example for this. When uncle was a young boy, and all of us of our generation were young boys, we used to collect cycle. In those days, actually, the vehicle of common man was actually cycle. It was cycles. Cycles were plenty at that time. So we kids will collect the used tires of cycles from cycle repair shops, and with a small log, we will tap this tire, and we will go running. So that is our vehicle. Actually, that was our vehicle at that time. So in this case, the tapping is actually power strokes. We are giving power strokes to this cycle tire. Think about a case in which I am making the taps very slowly. I am giving a tap. What will happen? Tire will rotate a little bit, and it will decelerate. Its speed will slowly increase and so slowly decrease, and it may come to almost halt. Then I will give another tap. Then think about another case. I am giving taps frequently, more and more and more and more and taps frequently. Then what will happen? The tire will run more or less in a uniform speed then. So that is the case why we are going for a multi-cylindered arrangement in a diesel engine. So what we do is we have, let us say, a four-cylindered engine. So a four-cylindered engine has 4 power strokes in a cycle. 4 power strokes. Four-cylindered engine means 4 power strokes. So we will distribute these power strokes in such a way that one cylinder will make power stroke in during the time of one stroke, very first stroke. Other cylinder will make power stroke at the second stroke of our engine. Some other cylinder will make it at third time. Some the fourth cylinder will make in the fourth stroke time. I think you got the idea of that. So the engine will be making power continuously, and it will give a uniform rotation. It will be tapping the crankshaft frequently. If we have multi-cylinders arrangement in which the power strokes are distributed through the 720 degrees, it will get power more and more taps, and the shaft will rotate in a smooth way. Sadish, next. Next slide, Sadish. Did we jumped through previous slide? Okay, next. Okay, next. Oh, okay. So this is a practical engine design. This is a four-cylindered arrangement, a multi-cylindered arrangement. So a multi-cylindered arrangement is the rule of the game. Multi-cylindered arrangement. If you need more power or smooth power, you have to go for multi-cylindered arrangement. We are going for multi-cylindered arrangement primarily because we need smooth power. We are not at all interested in pulsating power. If you, as Rishikesh said, if we increase the volume of the cylinder, a single cylinder is being used, and we are increasing the volume of the cylinder, and we are giving more and more power, means it's more and more pulsating power, hugely pulsating power. So we are not at all interested in that. We need smooth power. So we are going for multi-cylindered arrangement configuration. And this is the picture of a four-cylinder engine block. We call it engine block. So we will be putting the cylinder into these gaps, these circular gaps. Satish, okay. So in a practical diesel engine, we are going for multi-cylindered arrangement. So these cylinders can be arranged in two configuration. One is vertical engine. The cylinders are arranged in a line with vertically arranged cylinder. So let me check it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, it's a six-cylindered engine. Six-cylindered engine. It's a vertical design. And our truck engines, your diesel car, all those things will be of vertical engine design. Sadish, next. The other arrangement is a V-type engine. So if we need more power and we are to use more and more cylinders, there is a problem as far as design of that engine is concerned. Its length will increase to a higher value, prohibitive value. Its length will go on to a prohibitive level. So we will use a V-type arrangement for that. So at one side, we will be keeping one cylinder, and at the other side, we will be keeping another cylinder, so that the size of the engine will be reduced. So earlier we saw a four-cylinder assembly, a four-cylinder vertical engine, and the length of this is a V8 engine, means that it has got 8 cylinders. It will generate more power, but this engine is as compact as the earlier engine. Sandesh, could you go back to earlier? Oh, one more time. Okay. Look at this. This is a vertical engine, and the other one is a. This is a four-cylinder engine. Sadish, next. This is a 8-cylinder engine, V8 engine, 8-cylinder engine. So their size is more or less same, but it will produce double the power than the other engine. Okay, right now we will make a small calculation, a practical diesel engine. So in a multi-cylindered arrangement, all the cylinders will be completing one cycle of operation in a particular time duration. So all the cylinders will complete the 4 strokes in particular time duration, but one cylinder will be making at a time the initial stroke, let us say the intake stroke. At that time, some other cylinder will be in a position of power stroke. Some other cylinder will be making compression stroke. Some other the exhaust stroke. So when one cylinder completed the 4 stroke, means all cylinders completed the 4 stroke. And that is equivalent to 2 revolutions or 720 degrees. And you will be making power strokes distributed in a smooth manner, one by one after another. So Sadish, next. So we will be doing a small calculation, You just think about an 18-cylinder engine. It has got an 18 cylinder. Generally, a ship's engine will have that much cylinders. So there is a problem. There is a problem for us. How far each power strokes can be displaced. We have to displace each power stroke in a succession, and how far they could be displaced. In what succession we will be generating the power stroke. Did you get my question? Rishikesh has come to that answer. Actually, it is not 360. It is not 360, Rishikesh. It is 720 degrees. Actually, 2 revolutions. 2 revolutions. Okay, this is the correct calculation. Power strokes has to be displaced in such a way that we have got 720 degrees, 2 revolutions. In these 2 revolutions, all power strokes has to be completed and they have to be placed in a better way. So our calculation is very simple. 760 divided by 80. That means 40 degrees. So power strokes has to be made in such a way that when the crankshaft rotates to 40 degree, one of the cylinder must be delivering power stroke to our camshaft. Okay, 720 degrees divided by 80. 720 divided by 18. So we will get 40 degrees. In this case, when the crankshaft rotates 40 degrees, one of the cylinder will be delivering power to your crankshaft, and the crankshaft will rotate in a smoother way. So let us make it 24 cylinder, and let us say 24 cylinder. You all have to make a better calculation this time. We have a 24 cylinder engine. 24 cylinder engine. So make a calculation. How far our power strokes will be displaced. Simple, 720 divided by 24. How much? 30 degrees. Okay, Rishikesh answered 30 degrees. Do everybody agree with Rishikesh? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. It's 30 degree. So in this case, when the crankshaft rotates 30 degree, a lesser degree than earlier case. So right now, it will be a more smoother revolution, smoother revolution as far as crankshaft is concerned, as more smoother power transfer. So you know why we are going for multi-cylindered arrangement right now. Am I correct? Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That is why we are going for multi-cylindered arrangement. Okay, Satish, next. So for this, actually, there is an electrical analogy for this. Did anybody attended the electrical engineering course which Granite conducted, I think some 1 or 2 weeks ago? Somebody attended that class? there was a class. Uh, okay, there was a class called. Okay. There was a class on electrical systems, electrical engineering, world of electricity. Correct. There was a session called World of Electricity. I think Rishikesh I attended this. So in diesel engine, we are going for multi-cylinder arrangement, and there is an electrical analogy for this for this. So actually, you have to answer why we are going for. There is an answer. There is a question in electrical engineering. Why we are going for three-phase power? Why we are going for three-phase power? You know there are single-phase and three-phase powers. Most probably to your home, a single-phase power is coming, and when you look at industries and all those things where power intensive stations, they will be asking for three phase power. Why we are going for single phase and three-phase power? So it's exactly same with the multi-cylinder arrangement. Exactly similar to multi-cylinder arrangement. So in electrical engineering, we are generating a generator will develop a voltage in the form of a sine wave. Sine wave. In an alternating current generator will develop an electrical potential, an electrical voltage in the form of a sine wave. So this is sine wave. Sadish, next. So when we apply this voltage to an electrical circuit, a current will flow through that circuit. A current will flow through that circuit. That is the smaller sine wave given in that picture. And the resulting power is voltage times current. Voltage into current. V into I is power. So that is the P waveform. P. I think the color is violet. P waveform. Look at it. Look at the power. Let us see that it starts from 0, reaches to a maximum value, and it again reaches to 0, again goes to maximum and reaches to 0. So as Uncle said, it is the real pulsating power, real pulsating power. So single phase power, which is coming to your home, is a pulsating power, pulsating power. So most of the industries does not like such a pulsating power. They need a constant power. They need a constant. So what we do? Sadish, next. So what we do? Earlier we had a voltage like this, only violet voltage. We had violet voltage. Okay. So as a multi-cylindered arrangement, we are generating another two more voltages. One is orange, the other one is blue. Two more voltages. Displaced, again, displaced, actually displaced from one voltage at an angle of 120 degrees. 120 degrees. Displaced at an angle of 120 degrees. 120 degrees. So at 0 degree, if you have a voltage at 0 degree, at 120 degree apart, you will see another voltage, let us say another voltage vector. Then again, displaced through 120 degrees, you can see another voltage vector in a three phase. system, three-phase system. So right now we have to add up the power of all these three voltages. Add up the power. Here one voltage is here, one voltage is here, one voltage is here. Add up the what you could get from the graph. You can see that it is a smooth, very smooth power, electrical power. Actually, in mechanical system, we won't get such a smooth power. For that, actually, you have to use infinitely large number of cylinders in order to get such a power. But in electrical system, to get a constant power, constant alternating current power, you need only three cylinders. Three electrical cylinders are needed. You will get a perfectly smooth power. So this is why we are going for this single phase and three phase power. For our domestic purpose, this pulsation won't make any difference. This pulsation won't make any difference for our domestic purposes. But think about a textile industry. A textile industry, then actually they need a power which is constant at all time for their purpose. With single phase power, they can't run their industry. They need three phase power. Okay, Sadish, next. So right now we will revisit at our cylinder piston assembly again. Uncle will be taking 10 more minutes. Is it okay, Sadish? Sadish.
I am perfectly fine.
Okay. I will be taking 10 more minutes, so we can complete out this. I think some 2-3 slides are there. So we will make a revisit at our cylinder piston assembly here. So you can see here a cylinder, piston, connecting rod, crankshaft, all these things we have discussed. And at the top, we got what we call as cylinder head. And at this cylinder head portion, we have got an exhaust valve and an intake valve. The red colored valve is exhaust valve, and there is an exhaust port at this cylinder head through which the exhaust gas will be emitting out. And a violet colored valve is here. This is the intake valve. Through this, we will be collecting the air needed for our combustion. In the very first suction stroke, we will be collecting air through this intake valve. There is another thing called spark plug here, but that is the arrangement for a petrol engine. So let us read this as fuel injector. In the case of a diesel engine, this is a fuel injector, and you can see a cam here at the top of inlet and exhaust valves. Actually, these cams will be operating these valves. These inlet and exhaust valves will be in its normal position. They will be closing these ports, these exhaust and intake ports, in a spring-loaded fashion. So by applying at its top against this spring through a camshaft, we can open up, or we can push the piston downwards. So this port will be opened, and this cam will keep the piston opened for one stroke time. Okay, Satish, next. So this is our cylinder assembly, assembly, cylinder assembly, cylinder assembly. Previous one, so cylinder, cylinder, and next to it we have got the piston. Piston. So here the orange colored one is the cylinder assembly. Then green colored we got engine frame here, and the blue colored lines are actually covering up the cylinder. Previous one, previous one more time, previous. Next, covering up the cylinder, we have got a water jacket here, engine jacket here, and inside the jacket we have ports or openings. Through that we will be pushing either treated water or coolant to cool the engine. Okay, Sadiq, next. So let us look at the engine cylinder head again. So we have here inlet air valve here, spring loaded, valve closed. At here at the left end we have got exhaust valve cylinder, and that cylinder is in this picture in its operated condition. We have got another opening we call as decompression cork in the cylinder. So through we can depressurize our cylinder with the help of this cork. By opening up this cork, we can depressurize the cylinder, and then again we can make an inspection. What we call that inspection? By inserting a camera inside, we can we can make an endoscopy through this port. So we will be putting a small camera through this decompression cork, and we can inspect the inside of the cylinder through a endoscopic process. And we have got a at the middle side we have got what is known as the fuel injector, and the next to it we have got another opening in the cylinder head, that is starting air supply, and a real cylinder head is here. Real cylinder head picture is here. Okay, Sadish, next. So this is the piston assembly. So actually in a ship's engine, this piston assembly is a two-piece assembly. The top portion we call as piston crown, and this portion has to be a little bit special metallurgically. It has to be a special design. So generally it will be of steel like that make. And the bottom portion is called a skirt, and a skirt portion, and these are made of aluminum compounds. And one particular thing is that in a cylinder piston assembly, actually the cylinder and piston won't be making contact normally. They won't make any contact. The contact is made through another medium known as piston rings. piston rings. In the piston, we have got some grooves, some 3, 4 like such grooves will be there. So we will be inserting a ring which will be protruded from the side of our piston. All these rings will be protruded out, and these rings will make contact with your cylinder assembly. And while making the strokes, these rings are actually going up and down. Rings will be making the rubbing with your cylinder, and metallurgically, when you look at it, this is the lesser hard material rather than your piston and cylinder, and all of the stress, all of the wear and tear will be taken by these rings. So during maintenance, we will be looking at these piston rings, and we will be replacing the rings occasionally, so that our cylinder and piston will be as new all the way. Only thing is that wear and tear will be taken care by these rings. Sadish, next. Piston rings. Next. So let us assemble. Let us assemble our heat engine. It's simple. Here at the left end, we have got a piston crankshaft. Piston connecting rod assembly. There is we have got piston here, next to it piston and piston rings here, connecting rod in disassembled way. There is a pin, connecting rod pin here. So when we look at the assembly drawing, you can see that you can fix the piston rings to its grooves here. Grooves 1, 2, 3, or 4 rings could be put to this side. Then you can assemble this connecting rod. You can assemble the connecting rod. Then you will be inserting the small end of your connecting rod into the skirt portion of your piston, and you will be inserting the pin, connecting rod pin into that, and locking rings are there. We also called circlips. Locking rings are there, and we put these rings here. So the piston, this assembly is intact, and you can see some circular portions, 2 small circular portions with this connecting rod. Those are bearings. Those are bearings. Okay, sir. Okay, next. Okay, sir. Okay. We discussed this portion. So this is how a camshaft will work. You have got the, let us concentrate on the left side figure. So at the top, we have got a camshaft. While rotating it, its protruded portion will be coming in contact with the valve, and valve will be pushed down. That is how we operate the inlet and outlet valves through the help of camshafts. There is a assembly here, as a camshaft, and piston assembly is there, crankshaft is there, then valve assembly is there. Okay, valves are there, and all these things. Okay. Sadish, next. So our assembly is of diesel engine is assembled. We have to repeat what I said. That is one unit. You have to repeat that processes again. So a complete assembly will be done. So now in the next session, we will look at some operational characteristics. There are, for a diesel engine to be made alive or made to operation, it needs some subsystems operational for the operation of those things. One is a cranking system, then inlet air system, cooling system, lubricating system, fuel system, exhaust gas system. These six systems are the most important systems. So we will discuss these things in our next class. And if you have time, you may just Google out all these six systems. Sadish, next. So the basics of a four-stroke diesel engine is complete. So later on, when we look at critically at each point, what Uncle described, you will see that there are more to be said about that. As a as a group which is heterogeneous as well as very much new to the subject, this much is enough. So you must be always ready to make corrections, rather modifications to what I have said to you up to this point. And this point you have to keep in mind when you study any engineering system. You will make a rough assessment very fast. Then you will look at each system in detail, and then you will develop to a greater knowledge about the system, a very better understanding of the system. So is our methodology of study. Okay, sir. So I am not asking, is there any specific doubts? Do you have any doubts? Else we can wind.
So,
Okay.
so like instead of doing multi-cylindrical engine, we can also get extra power source for the engine, right? Like if there is a ship, like we can take the ship is sailing in the water, right? So we can get hydroelectricity, right? We can use some extra things to get power for the engine, right?
Okay. Ridish, I think Ridish asked me for this. Okay, that is correct. That is a better concept. Ship is sailing through water, and I am not quite sure you can generate much hydroelectric power to a ship which is sailing through water. Actually, Uncle is an electrical engineer, so I can make a. I will be making another session on electrical engineering, so you will get a better understanding on how we generate hydroelectric power. So without a head, okay, from tidal waves we can generate power. Tidal waves we can generate a little bit of power. That won't be enough to drive your very huge ship.
So
Okay.
then can we make like a big cylindrical valve, and then inside that the camshaft, right? It gives rotatory motion. So can we extract any energy with that?
Okay, you are okay. You can do one thing. For that. Actually, with some power, you have to pump your seawater to a tank, overhead tank. Let us say at the top of your ship, you pump some water to there. Then you make the water come running through a pipe. So a turbine could be rotated. From that, you can generate some electricity. And okay, from that you can generate electricity, and you are generating electricity in that way, using some other power, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
You need some other power. So where from you extract that power? For
Sir,
that
like,
power,
can we like reuse this power energy created to send it to that pump, and when that pump creates like the thrust, we can we capture that energy to reuse that energy again? Like
okay,
we can
okay,
make a recycle of energy.
okay, Ritesh. Okay, then you have to keep in mind that actually there is no perpetual engine, practical perpetual engine, meaning that an engine will giving power free of cost. You have to keep that point well in your mind. Okay,
Okay, sir.
nobody will give you power freely. In science, nobody is going to give you power freely. There is no concept as a free lunch in science. And
So, but like there are many different ways to get electricity, right? Not only electricity. Then can we use all these methods to create some type of engine which can reuse electricity and generate electricity also?
sure. You can use any method. I appreciate you. Actually, your questions are very valid. You very valid questions. You can use whatever method you have in your mind. You can try to implement that. You can try to implement that, but to if you are to present it to a scientific community or to a public domain, it has to be a practical engine. That is the case. You can generate any type of engine at your lab, at your mind, no problem, no problem. But when you present it to somebody else, it has to be a practical engine. You have to make modifications, many modifications. Okay. Conceptually,
Yes,
you
sir.
are very good, very good. Conceptually, your questions are very good, very good. Like that, you have to ask such questions. You have to generate such ideas. All of you generate such ideas. In your mind itself, you try to validate, think about its efficiency. Okay,
Okay, sir.
an engine which asks for, let us say, 100 units of power. An engine is asking us 100 units of power, and it is giving us 50 units of power. Okay, could you sell it out, Rishi?
Yes, sir.
My question is, okay, you have generated an engine, okay, that that needs as input 100 rupees, and if you put 100 rupees into that, it will give energy which is equivalent to 50 rupees.
Sir, I won't buy that engine.
You won't buy that. Okay, it has to be in the opposite direction, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Like I want less cost but more performance.
Correct. That is the case. So these are practical engines, These are evolved through such questions. These, these engines, while evolving, has answered your question in a correct way. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Okay. Okay. And if no, if there is no further, I think no further questions, so we may end up. So thanks for your time, Sadish. Okay, Sadish, over to you.
See all of you in the next class. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, everyone.